Roberts is the equivalent of someone fighting with the Americans against the British, who at the very last minute threw off the American coat and put on a British red coat and ran over to the other side. Plain and simple, Justice Roberts is a sellout, period. Now, for guys like George Will, who holds himself up to be some intellectual, or Krauthammer, another fraud, another lifetime Democrat. Krauthammer is a lifetime Democrat who poses as a conservative and postures on Fox News. Another one who got it all wrong, saying that Roberts is a genius. They're both schmendricks, both wrong, both weak-willed, and don't understand what actually just happened to them. So here we are. The world hasn't changed. We've moved into a socialized nation, and the dumb conservatives are saying that Roberts was such a genius, he outmaneuvered the liberals by voting with the liberals. You hear? I've never seen such wishful fantasy in my life. The man is a turncoat, or he's mentally deranged because, as I said to you last week, and look, I didn't pick this out of air just to shock you. I'll repeat it again before it's lost to the ethers of the media. Roberts has epilepsy. Roberts probably takes epilepsy medication. Epilepsy medication, according to a world-famous neurologist, can cause cognitive dissonance and failures in reasoning. Okay, if you can't follow what I'm saying, then pardon me, get out of the adult room. Either he turned on the conservative wing of the Supreme Court because of the medication he's on or because he was threatened and blackmailed. There is no other explanation for it. In fact, it just came out in an article yesterday that for 1 month he told them he was going to turn on them. 1 straight month they were arguing with him. They couldn't believe he was doing this to them. Either someone had this guy over a barrel, witnessed The Godfather, watched The Sopranos, maybe I watched too many movies, or the guy's a deranged turncoat. One or the other, nothing else makes sense. Or maybe all you need to know is that he was appointed by Bush, who I call the fiscal socialist. So he's from the Bush wing, that's all. He got bushwhacked by the Bush wing of the Supreme Court. But look, you want to get serious for about 60 seconds? Can you handle this attention span thing? I know it's, cars, driving boats, bicycles, vacation, don't bother me. I don't care. We're going to you-know-where in a handbasket time. In my book, Trickle Up Poverty, a seminal work. See, here's the problem, what you don't understand, is that just because I write popular works doesn't mean that they're not seminal. And just because they're popular works doesn't mean that they're brilliant. See, you can write a popular work that's genius with insights that even a scholarly work cannot put down on paper for people. And that's what I specialize in. I've always had the ability to take very complex subjects and reduce them to simple terms, not simplistic terms, simple terms, because that's the mark of a good writer, is to reduce ideas to simple terms. I learned this in science writing when I was very young. Use sparse number of words, use simple words, don't use 3-syllable words when you can use 2-syllable words. You know what I'm saying? That's how you learn to write scientific language. You don't overemphasize big words just for the sake of big words. The same thing with big arguments. So I cite a case from 1939, the Schechter brothers. It's in Trickle Up Poverty. This is the precedent for what Obama just did. Forget the Commerce Clause. Obama overstepped his powers. He grabbed more power than any president has ever had. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was one of his role models, is one of his role models. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a power madman. He was very much like Stalin in terms of centralizing power in the hands of an overbearing government. Everyone knows that. In fact, in the 1930s, the centralization of power in the hands of a very few elites was commonplace in Germany, in Russia, in England, and in the United States. FDR was in line with that thinking of centralizing power. So they try to tell these little kosher butchers in New York that they couldn't sell certain kinds of chickens, which went against their religious beliefs. They even went to jail over it. They wouldn't do it. They came out and sued the federal government, and they won. And Justice Brandeis, you may have heard of Brandeis University, is quoted in my book, Trickle Up Poverty, as having said to FDR's lieutenants the following. He said, "Let this be the end of your centralizing everything." See, in those days, a brilliant jurist can speak in plain English. Today, we have the most incompetent people in the world made into Supreme Court justices. Can anyone listening to this show tell me that Elena Kagan belongs on the Supreme Court? Can anyone listening to the show tell me anything Elena Kagan ever wrote that qualified her to be on the Supreme Court of the United States of America? And likewise, Sotomayor, she belongs on the Supreme Court. It's as though we're living in communist China after the Mao Zedong revolution, where he took basic illiterate peasants and put them in the highest positions. These women are not qualified to be on the Supreme Court. I would not say the same thing about Justice Ginsburg. She's a brilliant jurist, although she shouldn't have been qualified to be on the Supreme Court. Why? Because she disqualified herself by having previously been the chief counsel for the anti-American ACLU. But she's a brilliant jurist. These two are not in her league. These two are bush leaguers. That's the world we live in. I'll be right back. Savage. Finally, McConnell says not easy to undo Obamacare. Oh, he figured it out? What did I tell you? It's set in stone already. All the schmendricks out there like you who believe Roberts is a genius, he did a double reverse flip, and now he's did something that's good for conservatives. You're crazy. It's wishful thinking. You're never undoing it. It's like undoing Social Security, undoing the ADA. You can't undo it. It's done. We've got Castro Care. It's over. The single biggest policy win in the history of modern American history since Johnson's Great Society. We now have a dagger through the heart of small government. It's over. The battle is over. We fought it and lost. Roberts is a turncoat. He was planted there by Bush. Either Bush knew he was like this or didn't know. It didn't matter. But Roberts was waiting in the wings like an enemy within to stab the American conservative movement in the heart. And so, therefore, it's over. You can't reverse this. So don't sit there with a fantasy that when we take the Senate and we take this, we're going to overturn it. You're never overturning it. People like things for free. They love free medical care, especially those who don't work. But I'm warning you, young people don't know that the majority, 75% of the cost for Obamacare is going to fall upon people who earn less than $125,000 a year as a couple. So you young people who think that he's a great leader and this, you don't understand. You're paying for it. And the reason you young people are going to pay for Obamacare through the nose you're going to pay is because right now you probably wouldn't get a health plan because you don't need it. You figure, yeah, I'm healthy, I don't need it. When I was young, I didn't have it. I didn't get a health care plan until I had kids, then I worried about it. But you say, oh, I don't need it, I'll wait. It's too expensive. Well, now you can't wait. The Obama tax guys are going to come around. The IRS brown shirts are going to come around, make sure you pay or you're going to get a penalty. Why do they want you to buy a health plan? So that older people pay less. Okay, illegal immigrants pay less or nothing, and they get treated. So you're going to carry the burden. You're going to carry the burden. All you youngsters who were hoodwinked by Obama and the Democrat machine, you're going to carry the burden. End of story. You don't have to read any more about it. You got hoodwinked once again.